Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I
So I'm sorry that I'm on my phone today, so I don't have a lot of the capabilities, but um I forwarded you guys all the results of the beta test of our survey that we made, and I'd love to just kind of go over that briefly and then talk about kind of I apologize that I did not get a chance to write up a draft report session this last meeting, but I'd like to create like a outline or something that we can make a draft from and then maybe go back and forth and approve it before we present it to the commission at our next meeting, if that sounds good to everybody. Okay. Yep. So did you all get a chance to look at the results of our what were your thoughts?
I'll find it just a minute here. Well, I
thought it was pretty interesting.
Me too.
Go ahead, Karen.
Yeah. I was gonna say I actually worked it, and it's fascinating. Hold on a minute. Let me find the results. I'm looking.
I can go over the numbers if you want real quick with everybody, just so we have them fresh in our, unless you guys all have it in front of you. Karen, I'm definitely interested to hear how your experience was if you had a chance to talk to people about this, like what they were saying.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the email. Hold on a minute.
Okay.
I have to go through Bernie Sanders and Michael Moore. Just a second. What date did you send that? Let's see.
I think it might have been like the 13th of March or something.
It was the 14th at 10:06 a.m.
Thank you.
Sure, I'm looking at it right now.
Okay,
yeah, it was. I just kind of felt like some of the things were concerns that we'd had, but some other things didn't seem to be an issue.
Yeah,
is what I thought. But I did also feel like I don't know what to put in the bin, and I'm not aware how to get service, and it is not available to me, which may or may not be true, right?
Right.
I don't know if it's really available or not.
Well, it might not be available because it might be people from like rural areas. Because if you the demographics of the home show, and Karen, I'm definitely open to hear your feedback on this, but I feel like so most likely a lot of folks from the home show are probably homeowners or people who work on homes or other vendors perhaps, and that's an assumption on my part, but like I think it's possible that like we did have that question specifically, do you live in multifamily housing, and that was a specific answer, and maybe people answered it before they got down to that question, which is possible, but also it's possible they just live in an area where it's not available, or they just don't know about it. Well, not available in respect to literally it isn't. I mean, we know that there are people who don't know about it too, but yeah, how many answered that? They're true, but that's obviously what they think is a barrier, regardless of the reality of it.
Right. I guess that was kind of my point, was like, we don't know, how many people answered the survey. Right.
Right.
You have no idea. So I know this is probably not the case, but 76 people could have answered it is not available to me and then not answered any other questions.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there as like any one person could have answered one of the questions and none of the other questions. So it's just something way of reminding yourself when you look at it, you don't know how people like.
Right.
I would like to maybe understanding the demographic, but I would bet there are people that If there's that many people that don't know how to sign up for it, there could easily be people that it's available to them and they don't know
Yeah.
either. I just think as far as education is concerned,
Were they instructed to choose one option, or could they select as many as they wanted?
Karen, do you remember?
Yeah,
What?
so I worked at it, and actually, it would be really good, too bad I didn't think of this ahead of time, but, to have Dan speak to it, because he ran that booth, you know, for a good chunk of it, and then there was mass recyclers and stuff, and the way that he did it is that he just, you know, anybody who walked by there, he was like, hey, do you live in Lane County, or do you live in Eugene, or something like this? And some people would just walk by, and then he had a conversation with them, and then we had a little tally on the side. So people didn't actually really fill out the survey. It was more,
he did it.
yeah, it was more like a conversation, like, do you live in Lane County? We're just gonna, then he would say, we're just doing education, we're not gonna sell you anything, and we're just trying to find out some information, you know. Do you live in Veneta, Springfield, or Eugene? And if they didn't, he asked them if they composted at their house. So if they lived in Veneta, Springfield, or Eugene, they said, are you aware that you can do home composting in your yard debris bin? And then what he did was he kept a little tally on the side there. And if people, if he would engage them far enough, he could get to respond, you know. So that's basically what happened. It wasn't actually doing a survey with them because people weren't that engaged. It was more like he was just trying to let them know that there was this, and then so we have a little discussion. So it didn't last very long because people kind of moving along. And then he also handed out a sustainability magazine or something that had all kinds of cool ideas in it. So, you know, so if you weren't in Lane, if you weren't in Veneta, Springfield, or Eugene, then that was not available to you. I'm not aware of who to contact to service. I never experienced that because you have to break it down by talking about the yard collection first. That it goes into your yard collection. So, you know, a good chunk of people did not have subscribe to the yard debris stuff. You know, it kind of blows my mind because it's like $5 a month to get the yard debris. You know, people.
Well, zero people said that cost was an issue.
Right. And then a
So
couple of my yard, I had a lot of people who were doing that because there was a fair amount of people who were rural and just doing it rurally. Funny because one of the people that came through here was one of my neighbors who's very, you know, progressive, blah, blah, blah. And then she was honest with me and she said she didn't, you know, it brings rats and stuff. And I said, well, if you put it in your garbage, I said, what do you do with it? You put it in your garbage and you're still getting rats. But some people use the garbage disposal too, and that wasn't one of the choices. And then
So
I didn't really have that because it was more like the way that Dan did it was he was educating people. Did you know that you could do this? And so, you know, it might be good to check in with him. But anyway,
okay. Well, I think we could qualify as just a real basic kind of quick test, and I would check in with him, and I'd also be interested in seeing like how they would change the survey now that we've tried it once, you know.
yeah, but he wasn't there the whole time. But he definitely, you know,
Mm-hmm.
job at the county who educates people for the county. And it's clear that there needs, you know, I don't think that people, I think Veneta and Springfield are kind of weak education. But he also was doing education on, you know, how much, you know, people throw out $2,500 worth of food every year. So he was doing a little bit. Anyway. I thought it was really good, and I'm sure that we got a couple people engaged in it, but with a little bit of fun that I was in, that would participate in the program. You can use the you can but it is kind of funny because it's like the people who did it were very, kind of lit up with that. Well, I know that. I already do that. Okay, good. And it's clear what I get out of this survey is that it's an important educational thing that is very valuable. And as we know in the society, people don't really delve into a mystery. They just go after headlines. If we could say what we need to say in like 2 seconds. That's why, getting somebody to actually fill out that survey is so possible.
So I have a question, because I think there's some good information in the survey and the way the survey is written, and I think there could be some other uses for the same survey. I don't know. I'm assuming that that's the case, that everyone agrees on that. Maybe I'm wrong, but hold on. I'm trying to get back to the right page there. But so the outreach and education is hopefully, it's still not 100% decided yet. Going to give the slideshow presentation when it's approved to the NLC, the neighborhood leaders, whatever C stands for. I forget. Like, so coalition, I don't know, commission, I'm not sure. But on the 23rd of April. So we could, if this really happens, we could bring this with us, and we could ask the neighborhood association leaders if they would distribute it like at their next general meetings or things like there's a lot of ways that could go. This is one thought I'm having right in the moment about, like, we could say, okay, can you guys distribute this? Could you guys put this in your digital newsletter? And how do we get the results back? I don't know. Maybe we can generate a Google form and share that with the NLC, for example, to where we just get, so they put a link to our Google form in their digital newsletter, and then we just look at the results right there in the Google form. Just ideas that we could float at that meeting as education and outreach without spending a lot of time on this, but say, hey, this is something we brought, because we do have assuming we still have the food waste slide, which I think we will. In the presentation, we could say, oh, by the way, we have this survey. We would like you to share it with this link or whatever with the neighborhood associations, please. And we could get a lot of answers that way, I would think, and compare them to this sort of answer. I mean, feedback, I guess, you know what I mean? Like where you're at a table and you kind of have a demographic that maybe is like, to your point, already composting on some level, maybe, but it would be just more like, okay, here's just people all over Eugene answering it digitally, without us really having to do tabling or.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, maybe. Yeah. I like that. It's pretty easy to convert the form or convert the survey to a Google form and to make it available via QR code. But I think a viable question that we will hear if we bring this to the commission is, who's going to manage the results and what are we going to do with that for the city council? Like, we're going to have to produce a report as a result of this committee. That was kind of what we were going to do today, but I think the city and the county are both interested in ongoing information about this. Maybe they would want to own the back end of it or have access to it, be a shared admin or something. So like that could be a question we could bring to the commission is like, is this something, I think personally that we've developed something that would be helpful, even if it's a little messy and it's inaccurate. We're getting a pulse on why our community isn't using a service that's available to them, which is kind of what Deveron said that they were interested in. And I am honestly, personally surprised about it. And it seems like we have both the question and the solution of like what's not available. We don't know what goes in there. And then there's this bin sticker that says exactly what goes in there that's available. So it's like, I don't know. I think there's something we could do with this. For sure. Aaron, did you have any thoughts you wanted to contribute on the results or?
Sure, yeah. I mean, like everybody else, that first question was a mystery to me about what people meant by it. Is it available to me? But I think overwhelmingly what I took from this is that more education is needed about that it exists, that you might already have it, and what goes in the bins. I mean,
And how
it's
do I
sort of
sign up? Yeah.
yeah. And how do I sign up? Yeah, it's almost overwhelming in the numbers that are here.
Mhm. So we all see
So
that
much growth. I thought there would be more growth.
I was like pretty surprised that wasn't a bigger answer personally. And
Well, maybe that's because they're not doing it yet. Maybe you have to do it for a while to really get to the gross level.
that's a good point. Yeah. And okay, so education needed about that it exists, how to access it, and what was the third thing you just said, Aaron? What goes in it?
What goes in? Yep.
And that would be a conclusion that we would basically draw from this committee work that we've done based on what we've gathered so far. But action wise, I feel really good about what we've accomplished in this short few months, because basically what I'm seeing would go into this report is after our first presentation by the city, we shifted gears, focusing on why people aren't using their existing system for single family housing. And then we created the survey. We also put that city slide in our slideshow. And we also identified that there is this bin sticker that has a lot of the solutions on it. So using those three things, continuing work with the survey, getting the bin sticker out, and then incorporating this slide into our outreach and education through the commission, those are very actionable things that I don't see us have. Usually I don't feel like we get that much action, but we've done that. And we can do that. And putting this out there in our report, and then seeing maybe what the commission feels we could do in terms of like the future of the survey. Devin, in terms of incorporating that slide into the slideshow, is that like on the chopping block for the slideshow? Is that, oh, okay.
No, it was just we're Danielle's tweaking the whole presentation just a little bit. I don't think that slide's not going anywhere. I was just being a little bit goofy. But then the commission still does need to approve the entire presentation in its final form. But I would say, not that I'm actually chairing the Education and Outreach Committee, but I think the Education Outreach Committee would be really interested in that survey. I might be overstepping, but I imagine that if we did try to get some more data points, because from like, as far as to answer your question, like who's going to manage that? I mean, it doesn't have to go on forever or anything. It can have an end date on that survey, so we don't get like a million answers. But it could be something where if this committee is finished, the Education Outreach Committee could go ahead and look at that data as part of their mandate. I think that I would say that it falls within education and outreach, because we're always looking for surveys and interesting things. And also those stickers would be great for us to distribute as education outreach. Absolutely, at any event that we're at. So
I have a question. So I'm putting together that youth upcycled art challenge through Mecca, and we're doing an award ceremony on Earth Day, April 22nd, and I'm trying to get some folks to table with engaging activities at that event. This is kind of a question and also just like general statement, but Danielle, would I come to the commission and ask them if anyone was interested in tabling or for that, or doing our slideshow or the survey or anything, just for, it's just 2 hours at the Fifth Street Market from 4 to 6 on
4 to
Mon-
6.
Monday, April 22nd. And
I would advise, yeah, I mean, we'll need the full approval from the commission to do that, but I would advise getting like the wheels spinning for that now, of like who can do it, and the committee, the education and outreach committee still hasn't gotten a list to me of like what supplies they want for tabling. We have some of the stuff from last summer, so that might be sufficient. But I think it would be good if you want that to happen, I think get the wheels going for it now. Because if we
Okay.
wait till the next commission meeting, that's April 17th, that's like the week before, then
Mhm.
probably not gonna, nobody's gonna be available.
And there's
so
an education outreach committee meeting the week prior to the sustainability meeting. So we kind of had a lag because we lost our chair and then got a new chair. So I apologize for that of being slow with the, I think things got a little mixed up there for a minute.
who's the new
We're
chair?
working on it. Dennis.
Okay.
And he seems really
So,
into it.
okay. Reach out to Dennis, or should I just reach out to you, Devin, because you're on the committee, or to
I think-
see
what is your question?
if anyone would want to have any kind of presence in for the Sustainability Commission at the Earth Day celebration at the Fifth Street Market, the award
I mean,
ceremony.
I think you could just email the full commission, because anyone can table.
Right.
But then
Okay.
it'd be up to the committee, I think. Well, I mean, my thought is it would be up to the committee to like figure out what materials they'd be tabling about.
Okay.
But the whole commission can table, so.
Exactly.
Because it could be something as simple as literally just doing that survey again, but if we feel like we want to add more, like some iteration of our show, or just have people there talking to people about the Sustainability Commission, I mean, any of those things would be great. But we are trying to do some sort of engaging activity that kids would be interested in. So a survey, I don't know, or families, doesn't have to be just for kids, but I don't know.
That might be trickier. I mean, not to keep talking about education outreach stuff, just because that's not something we've ever talked about before. We've mostly focused on adults. It doesn't mean that we can't, but in that short amount of time, I don't, unless someone has a super big idea, that's not on our planning list to try it. Because we have a event we're trying super hard to do. That NLC is the 23rd. So it'd be the next day, which isn't terrible or anything like that, but it's just a matter of like how I don't want to prepare for two things that are totally different, right? Like
Well,
it'd be good if they
it-
were similar as possible.
Exactly the thing.
Yeah.
We just did it that day before too.
Yeah.
And
I think so far the message from the tabling has been more about like who the Sustainability Commission is, how the
Mhm.
public can engage, like those messages would be applicable to youth as well. I mean, that's a voice we want, to elevate. So I think, I don't know, I mean, I think the materials that are developed already could be used for this audience as well. But yeah, it's for the other event, so.
and it's just a couple hours, and like I would do it, but I'm running this whole thing, so I kind of can't. But I do think it's a good opportunity to just make ourselves aware in an Earth Day event to people that are sustainable minded, because there are families that have chosen to engage in this art upcycling challenge. So okay, so I'll email the commission and just see if there's an interest in having a presence And then we could clarify if there is someone interested in being there, like what we would want to do. I would just suggest probably seeing if we wanted to do the same thing at both events, or yeah. That would be
The two events again, Mitra?
what now?
What are the two events again?
Well, ours is it's a award ceremony for the Planet versus Plastics Upcycled Art Challenge at the Fifth Street Market Alley. It's from 4 to 6 on Monday, April 22nd, which is Earth Day. So it's just a time when we're going to see the upcycled art pieces that won awards that youth artists ages 6 to 18 did. And then we're trying to get a couple other sustainable people, like maybe the city and the county, to come and table as well. Because it's Earth Day. Maybe I'm still confirming people's participation, but yeah, just to be there. And again, just talking to people. And we did receive a grant from the Sustainability Commission for this event anyway, so it could be cool just for people to learn more about what that is. We could make that we could announce that. Yeah. Okay, I'll just email out. So in terms of drafting a report to hand to the city about our work in this committee, I basically wrote an outline down. I'm sorry I didn't have that drafted in a form I could share with you, but I'll just go over with you briefly. Some sort of introductory paragraph or sentence saying how we shifted from the original focus of this on multifamily to what we ended up doing, which would explain that we heard from the city and that it would be more impactful to focus on why people aren't using existing systems, and that there are a lot of barriers for multifamily composting. So something simple like that. And then that the actions that we identified we could do is taking the pre-existing cities slide and adding it to our slideshow, taking a pre-existing county asset, which is their bin sticker, and broadening the dissemination of that through our events and just getting it out there. And then creating this simple survey, asking people why they're not using their existing system. And then we got a chance to beta test the survey at the home show, thanks to the county, and that we could present our results, which I guess out of a total of 269 answers. And of course, we can't say they were exclusive individual answers, but the total of all of these is 269. We could break it down that, 76 people said it wasn't available, 56 not sure, so anyway, I think there is information, so we could just share the results and then say our conclusion. The conclusion I would include in what I think I'm hearing from everybody is that there is more room for education to our residents of Eugene, Springfield, and Veneta, that this is available to them, how to access it, and what goes in it.
And why it's important.
Yeah, why? Yeah. Yes, Devin, were you raising your hand?
I'm waving my hand badly. Yes. I think that a summary of the results, like as far as like a report that would go to council, is probably better. Like maybe Danielle could chime in on that, but like saying, based on the beta tested single survey that we did, that the top three issues, or however, whatever word you want to say, that people had were, X, Y, and Z, the three that Aaron pointed out, right? I think that just making the numbers may not be meaningful
Okay.
to council. I think they just really want to see, like, we did a survey, we did it once, but here are the three top issues, which, and if you want to make a sentence that says we're kind of surprised in some ways because some of the things we thought weren't as important in this particular situation, but we're going to find a way to keep asking, or so, something like that. I think, at least based on my experience with meeting with like the counselors and the mayor, they want hard numbers when it's like one number.
Okay.
Right? Like they want to see like how much greenhouse gas is this emitting? And you're like, this much. And they're like, okay. But like they don't want to see a list of the numbers. I think
Yeah,
if
because that's
you want to see the results of the survey, just email us or ask or something like that.
or I can create a link to the results that they
Yeah.
can add. But yeah, that sounds good. So I'll probably just draft this up based on what we're talking about, unless you all suggest. I do think I think you're right. We could provide a link, and maybe depending on when. So Danielle, maybe you could clarify this. If we got the final report done and we would be presenting it to the commission during this meeting, they would approve it, and then it would get sent over to the city council. What if we said we're approving this, but if we do have an opportunity to at these upcoming events to get more data, that we would incorporate that data as well, and just, which might change the results potentially of the 3 highest obstacles to why people aren't using this? Or how would we?
When do you want to present this to the commission? Because you could do it as late as June,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and so that's an option. And then that way you could get a few more surveys under your belt. And then one thing on the surveys was like, I mean, I could see the value of having it online for when you go do the presentation, but at the same time, it feels like it's like such a specific topic compared to what the presentation is about. It feels like it might be a little disjointed for those to be paired together. And I really think the value of this survey is as an intercept survey, as like a tabling activity that's like more of a conversation starter. And it's like, even if it goes online, like it's not going to be statistically significant. We know that wasn't the goal in developing it. It was more to be like a light, conversation starter, and like, oh, tell us some of your barriers. So I think my preference would be to keep this as like a tabling thing.
Okay.
And like there was conversation at one point about developing a survey that would go with the presentation. That still hasn't been developed. It may in the future once like the presentation gets going. So that'd be my opinion.
Okay. And maybe we bring that question to the commission, or maybe we should just say, okay, we can draft.
I think this could be a good conversation to have with Education and Outreach Committee. Like the process is you would give this to the Education and Outreach Committee and be like, hey, we made this survey. Can you guys get this out there more, either through tabling or through your presentation? And then like let the committee kind of decide, I think, what would make the most sense.
Okay.
And potentially if they do the event on the 22nd with the youth upcycling event, that's one more. And maybe there's a goal that the Education and Outreach Committee could try to get one more tabling event before June.
Okay. So our timeline would basically be, I would reach out to to Dennis or the full commission and ask if anyone's interested in tabling at this event. I would reach out to the Education and Outreach Committee and see if they want to use this survey for tabling. And then I draft a report that we can start tweaking, but maybe that's not what we're putting forward at this next meeting. We're just getting approval for tabling at these events. And then the next meeting in May or whatever, we can present whatever results we end up with and see if if our conclusions align with what we've already got found from this, and then pass that along to the city council. Yeah, Karen?
So, we also have a slide, right, to go on our slide deck, or do we put it in there? And
Yeah.
I'm just curious, does anybody have any idea how we're gonna be using those slides? Is the idea to go to neighborhood meetings or something like this?
Devin?
Okay. Yes. and like on the 23rd, potentially we're still waiting for confirmation. We would be presenting at the NLC meeting. So that's another.
What's the
Right.
Neighborhood?
Now the neighborhood leadership.
Neighborhood leaders. Neighborhood leaders crap. Maybe that's what this is for.
Well, because I found that when me and Jan tabled at your neighborhood thing last year, that was actually a lot easier to get people engaged than at the home show. You know, we had conversations with people who come by.
That's good feedback. And I'll Danielle, let's put that in our collective memory, because I'll forget. So that really is me asking you to remember. But I was gonna say that Mitra, if you could come, I know it's really hard, but look at your calendar. On April 10th at 1 p.m. is the Education Outreach Committee. And you don't have to stay for the whole meeting, but if you wanted to just join and say, hey, explain what you just said, you know, come to and ask the Education Outreach Committee right there in person, if you're able to attend.
April 1 p.m.
April 10, yeah, 1 p.m.
I'll have to find out. I do typically work at that time, but is it an hour?
Yeah, it's like this.
I might be able to come at like 1:30.
You could totally do that, and you can bop in for 10 minutes or what, and then go. You know, it just is like, it seems like that might be really effective because you're really good at explaining what we've been doing in this committee, and you're passionate, and I think it would be nice for them to hear from you.
Okay.
If you can.
Yeah, I'll try to do that. I have to ask my boss, but I'll try. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know you've got like the busiest schedule.
No, I mean, yep, I do, and I do what I can. I try to do everything I can. So, okay, I'll see what I can do. I'd love to do that, and if not, I'll just email them and see what we can do.
It's me and Lily, Dennis, and Jan.
Okay, what anything else? Does anyone feel like this is our technical last meeting for this? Are we feeling okay with moving the drafting of our report to email, going back and forth, and then incorporating future results of our survey into those findings? And the timeline, is everyone feeling good about what we just described in terms of what our plan is?
I think it would be good to get some like deadlines, like
Okay.
just to keep everyone on task, like what, and like Mitra, what type of support do you use? There are parts of the report that you want other people to help fill in, so it's not all on you. And
yeah,
and then a question of like, when should this be done? You know, if we're working backwards and the goal is to bring it to the commission by June or May or whatever, you guys decide, like, when should the first draft of the report be sort of done to sort of like allow that to occur. And
okay. Karen, you had something to say too?
I was just gonna say, you know, we started out on one path, and you are a fantastic, you have great leadership qualities, and you know, we started out here, and the original goal was multifamily dwellings and condos, and you know, we did due diligence on the research that was really good, and then switched it around to how to elevate this in general, and then still, one of the things that would be, I would like to add to whatever recommendations we have is perhaps back to that original purpose, which is what we started out with, which is, it would be great to have community-based drop-offs of composting for people who don't have direct access to it at their house. Something like that, some solution.
So action items. Okay, well, maybe, okay, how about this? Or suggestions, do reports coming out of committee work for the Sustainability Commission, do reports to the city council usually incorporate like suggestions or action items?
Well, it's directly based on what the first thing was, which was trying to figure out if we could get composting in multifamily dwellings. We found out there's a lot of roadblocks to that, but
the roadblocks were that it's completely up to the owners of the buildings, and so there was a lot of obstacles. You were there, Karen, right, for Deveron's presentation? No? Okay, yeah.
I was gone, and but I'm well aware of the work that's getting on there, and we did talk to Donnie, remember?
So basically, we did incorporate discussion of both multifamily and single family use of composting in our original request for this committee. So we didn't verge that far off. We just kind of stopped focusing on the multifamily because Deveron was saying that is a pretty complicated, like there wasn't any clear path of impact that was obvious that we could contribute to with our time and our work as a committee. So we just kind of shifted to the other half of that. Now, if you all feel like there's something we could suggest that would be helpful, that the city council could actually do to create more access, my takeaway from Deveron's presentation was that there isn't really anything aside from like, educating independent property owners about the value of, the complexity is that there is a value in making it available, but there's also a lot of complications for them as a business, if you will, a housing business, which is, they accumulate vermin and there's others like space and, so it was just like, there wasn't a clear action item to suggest really that the city council could act on. I guess a public drop-offs. I don't know. What are we thoughts about this? I'm not trying to shut that down by any means, Karen, as incorporating that into our report.
Just feeling that to me is not solution driven. That response from Deveron is not solution driven. It was basically passing the buck. So getting the landlords involved. Actually on a grander scale, when I worked at the U of O, one of the challenges that we had was of course that move outs. When the kids at the end of the year, dump all their crap. And at the U of O, we were able to address it, on some level. And at one point I took people from the city around in a van and not only showed them the stuff that we were doing at the U of O, but I took them out to Chase Village, which are multifamily apartment complexes where a lot of students live. And what I would like to see, and this is like pretty far reaching, and maybe I'm just wasting your time talking about this, but is the concept that this waste recovery piece is tied to real estate realtors licenses for these multifamily dwellings, whatever kind of licensing in the city in order to operate in the apartment. So no one else that really is like that. But sometimes whatever requirements they do with multifamily dwellings. So I I guess that I just kind of threw that idea out there as something that the city could do that I don't think that's what the policy change or law or something. Yes, that, you know, provides some opportunity for encouragement or whatever incentives, you know, for them to be able to do this. But we also know that multifamily dwellings in general are a complete nightmare, even in terms of recycling. So if you can't get the recycling to go, the compost takes it to a whole nother level. And I drove through an alley today, this in the spring break, and these dumpsters were overflowing with cardboard boxes. And I'm thinking, how could it be at this point in time where these kids are not putting their cardboard boxes into the recycle bin that are here? So I'm sorry, that was just my little psychiatric process, psychological processing, because I was just throwing that idea out there as something that proactive that the city could do, is maybe that they could create some level of public collection for that compost. And I mean, I guess, do they do it at the dump? Could you bring your food waste out to the dump and put it in the yard debris?
You bring it to Rexius.
Yeah, you can Rexius, but we did even talk about that a little bit because we asked, I mean, that you save it up in your apartment somewhere, like multifamily. We talked about the like logistics of someone who lived in multifamily housing trying to do that. I guess my reticence about including something like that, Karen, is just that we didn't really spend a lot of time in this committee exploring that. And I apologize that we didn't, because I know that was one of our original things that we were talking. So what happened in that conversation with Devron is that she said, we were trying to say, what can we actually do, like action wise, to contribute to this challenge in the time we have, you know, like, because yes, it is a very complicated issue in terms of the multi-housing, and we could start exploring that, and we could bring to the city council what other people are doing, but is that something they're going to act on? It still remains as a very complicated problem. So we kind of just shifted gears to the other half of our committee mission, which was, why aren't people using the existing single family housing system that's in place? And we did find that we could make more impact in the short time we have allotted for this. So I guess I would feel more comfortable focusing on that. Maybe there's room to re-up this committee and focus on that once there's been some developments. Maybe the Recycling Act or changes down the line would make this more doable. Or maybe
the Modernization Act does not address food waste or organics.
No. Oh, I know, but like you said, maybe solutions will come out that make even recycling in multifamily housing more systems, I guess what I'm saying, become clear, that could be applied towards that. But I guess, I don't know. Other folks, how do you feel about it?
Well, maybe since you're putting an educational spin on this is our recommendation, is the education piece, you know, we're taking out that piece. And I guess that all I want to add to that is that it would be great to add something in there that there's a huge population and a great value in the city also taking their educational piece to multifamily environment, whatever that is. And I think that any way that we could help these landlords in managing their recycling a little better, maybe that's part of their entry thing, or everybody has a door hanger that they get or something like this. I don't know. I guess I'm reaching far on this, but I just don't think that it's sustainable to put all the onus of this education piece on the sustainability position. And I hope that the city considers this when they're doing all their educational stuff for recycling, for example. Maybe.
Oh, Devin, you have your hand up.
Sorry.
No, now I can't remember what I was gonna say, but no, I think that I agree with Mitra and that the scope of what our work was, this is like a big add-on. And I think that we should, since we're wrapping up, but I do think there might be room for a couple statements in the intro when you discuss switching gears and why, and maybe not like a final conclusion ask, but maybe make it sound a little more dire in that intro about the switching. Because I I did have a little feeling of like, wait a minute, like we're being, when we did meet with Devron, which was awesome. I mean, it was so informative, but I did kind of feel like, yeah, you guys don't bother working on that. Go do this. And you're kind of like, we can, it was a little, I get it. And I'm glad we did, but it was still like, wait, we don't have to do what you say. But, we were really, I think, pretty effective to your point, Mitra, and got a lot of stuff done. And I think, none of it is like a letter to city council saying this is what we think you should do, right? That wasn't really what our action was, but we got a lot of cool stuff done. So it could be, and there are some, remember we wrote them down, or at least I wrote them down at one point. There are some successful multifamily collections. But it takes like quite literally a village, right? Because the other piece they were saying, and this goes with recycling as well, is the contamination was so high that haulers don't want it, or not haulers, receivers, the processors don't want it. And that Devron really made a point, is like, that's been one of the biggest problems. There was just no quality control in the contamination of the food waste, and then it getting dumped out on the ground a lot by people going through, scavengers going through all the bins, which then makes everything kind of contaminated. But anyway.
No, I think you're right. So what if, do we all want to contribute to the drafting of this report? And maybe Karen and Devin, would you all want to focus on the intro paragraph where we talk about that? Maybe we could include a link to some of these reports, Devin, that you found, and we could include a basic suggestion in the intro, Karen, like you're saying, and then we could shift over to the rest of like what we spent most of our time in the committee on. But I don't want to exclude what you're saying, because I do think it's important. I just don't want to make our report too long where it's going to muddy.
Enough. I'm just being a pain in the neck. Sorry.
No. Far at all. I want to make sure
you're staying focused on where you're at is good. You got accomplished a lot. We started out with one path. We got a lot of information. You get the survey thing was very interesting, and it's just a piece of the puzzle on the long road to get to this point. I'm just like, hurry up already. Compost and food waste, if that's what they're focusing on, then it'd be great to incorporate some of these things on a bigger scale. But then again, I mean, I really want them to collect all the food waste at the football games, so I can't even do that. And especially since they're working on all this climate action plans, and we'd like to see them go through something like that. So I don't know. I'm not sure what you need from me, but I'll do whatever.
I don't know if we need it. And I'm not 100% clear what reports I found, but I'm like, I don't think we need to make that introduction any more complicated than necessary. I think it just, because they're not going to care. They're going to be like, okay, look, oh, they switched gears. Okay. But what did they do? Right. That's really, I think, what the city council, and I think the most thing they're going to be affected by is the survey results and the summary leading to the conclusions. I really think that is the focus, with a mention of why we switched, and maybe you could even be as simple as a note that says this could be addressed in future commission work plans or something like that. And just so you don't say you're just leaving it to lie and accepting it.
Well, so Mitra, I think it's pretty simple. And I mean, it's not simple, but I think that in general, keep it to a page, attach the results to you.
Okay.
Like, I'll just be really succinct in it, because they're not going to really get into the weeds. So.
I mean, so in this work, I realized I just was having this conversation with my husband this morning, but a lot of work at this point in our evolution as humans, I'm not trying to be like preachy about this, but like a lot of the obstacles we face are not even technological or systematic. They're human thinking challenges, obstacles. They're the way that we have been used to thinking about things and doing things in our convenience, hitting up against what we should be doing, and like silly things like we can't put compostable bags in compost still just don't make sense to people. And then it's this really complex, like the problem is that people, if they put all compostable bags aren't compostable, and how do you discern visually a compostable bag from a non-compostable bag? And like it's just very silly that this is the things that we're facing right now, the obstacles that we're facing that are holding us up from these changes in behavior. But it is where we're at. And I don't know. So I'm always kind of trying to balance this like reality and like, against the ideal, like what we should be able to, why, but and in the same with like what the impact we can have as a sustainability commission and a committee on the city council. So I'll just make a draft, or unless someone else wants to make a draft of this report, I'm happy to start with a draft and send it around, and we can add, like, I guess I feel like we're all on the same page about it should be a 1 page. It should focus on what we did in this committee. But yeah, if we want to throw out some more idealistic or like suggestive, or if that fits and we're feeling good about it and there seems like a good place for it, go ahead and throw that in. And then, we'll bring it to the council and see what they say when we're ready to do that. Not this meeting, but probably the next one. And incorporating the results of our survey. So does anyone else want to make the draft? Okay, I'll make the draft.
Do you want to do a Google Doc? Because I know me personally, if you make a Google Doc and you send me the link, then I'm totally going to engage and like make a comment, look through it and see what other people have written. As opposed to an email that goes around, I might not be as forthcoming.
Yeah. I like to work on Google Docs anyway. I'll make a Google Doc draft. I'll send it around. We have a month. So how about before, not this month's Sustainability Commission, but the next May's Sustainability Commission, we want to finalize that report. So we'll have a month and a a couple weeks to make improvement suggestions, tweak it, incorporate future survey data into our findings. And that's why I kind of just want to get the draft started now. We can start doing this. And then when we get hopefully we'll get a couple more data collection opportunities that we can incorporate into the findings. And then we're going to share the top 3 findings in the report. And yeah, 1 page, a link to the results if they want to look at it, and keep it simple. Does that sound good to everybody?
Link to the results, our proactive thing, how we're going to incorporate it, any recommendations we'd like to see.
Yeah. If you got, wait, say that again. Sorry.
So the findings, the results, what we're doing. As a result, the Sustainability Commission, we created a slide. We are going to incorporate this into tabling for future tabling at neighborhood events, and then recommendations for the city.
Yeah, so the draft will have a paragraph talking about our shift in focus. We're going to talk about the actions that resulted from that, which is incorporating the city slide into our education and outreach committee slide deck, developing a survey, and trying to more broadly disseminate their bin label that the county has developed. And then we got a beta test, and hopefully we'll get a couple more beta tests of our survey under our belts. And then we're going to share the findings of that beta of our surveys, which so far is pointing to that we need more education, access, and information about how people can access and what goes into these bins.
Yep.
And then we'll have a link to whatever the actual results are, if they want to look at that.
And then Mitra, if you are available for the next Sustainability Commission meeting, would you give like this a little, committee update at the
Oh,
meeting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will there and I will. Yeah.
That'd be great. Yeah, because I wasn't prepared at the last meeting to step in and do it because I didn't have the survey results in front of me, but I kind of I was excited about the survey results, but I didn't
I'm
share it.
sorry. I apologize for not being there.
It's okay. It happens to everybody. But no, I'm just saying, since that didn't happen, I think it is exciting stuff to
Yeah.
share on and yours. I guess I'm saying I didn't share it. So
Okay.
I think they would love to hear it.
Yeah, I'll do that. Sounds good. Okay, thank you. This was great. I really have enjoyed working with you all on this. I feel really good about what we've all done. I'm sorry that it couldn't be more, but we got to
I think
take it.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I totally second what Karen said too about your leadership skills and how you've you've done really, really well with this committee, and it's impressive. And I appreciate it. And I thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And I think that just watch out getting yourself spread too thin because you're already doing really important focused work.
Yeah.
But don't leave the commission.
Mean reputation now, Mitra. It's like everywhere I turn, it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna hire Mitra to do that. Let's hire Mitra to do that. Mitra
That's
should do that.
I have 5 jobs and that like literally, and they're all related to sustainability. And I do really love it, but it is tricky for me. And I apologize that I'm kind of in and out because of that, but
You're
I
not,
do.
because what's amazing is you focus on everything 100%.
Yeah, I very much value my time here, and I do try to make time for this site. Sometimes my schedule overwhelms me and I drop the ball, so I apologize about that, but thank you all.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you via.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Danielle. Bye.
You.